Izuku Shigaraki by Fangirl48 on AO3. Chapter 4 Casa de Yagi. Toshinori stood on the other side of the glass, watching Tokuhishi converse with Izuku. After realizing that Izuku had gone into shock and was unable to answer any of his questions, the number one hero had called the detective, who had gladly came and picked up the pair, thinking he would hear the story behind the naked man in the tunnel. Instead, Tokuhishi found Toshinori in a deflated form trying his hardest to get a visibly upset Izuku to talk to him. To say anything, really, instead of just staring off vacantly. Toshinori had even used up what little of his hero time remained to carry the boy down the police car, since there was no way Izuku would be able to walk down to the ground floor by himself. After they had arrived to the police station, Izuku had snapped out of his shock enough to follow directions, handing over his outfit to the forensic scientist, and letting it be replaced with a simple pair of sweatpants and a t-shirt that said t-shirt, before following the detective into the most secluded interrogation room. Pulling out his cell phone, Toshinori's fingers shook as he pushed in the number, getting a rather annoyed-sounding "what?" on the other end of the one ring. "Hello, Grant Torino, sir?" Toshinori greeted, standing at attention, legs shaking with fear despite the best attempts to stop them. "Toshinori?" The retired hero spoke, curiously. "Is that you?" Yes, sir. You see, I'm calling because—" "I know why you're calling, kid," Grant interrupted, sounding angry for some reason. "Your old pal Night-Eye came sniffling around a few weeks ago looking for my help to convince you to pass it along." I see." Toshinori frowned, remembering how his former sidekick had called him out of the blue, claiming to have found the perfect successor for All for One. "Miria called you, didn't he?" "Look, Toshinori, I know this might not mean much, but choosing a successor should be your choice," the retired hero lectured. "When Nana first told me she was giving her power to you, I didn't agree. Hell, I even tried to find someone else, but after she died, well, that's when I got it. Too little too late to hear her say, 'I told you so,' I suppose." Toshinori sighed and looked into the interrogation room, where it looked like Izuku continued to talk with Toshinori, though he didn't appear to have more hostile than before. Putting thoughts of his successor and Sir Night-Eye aside, Toshinori tried to steer the conversation back to why he was calling in the first place. "That's why I called you. It's about you know what." Toshinori spoke, before putting a hand over his mouth and lowering his voice. "Did you and Master ever hear anything about a third brother?" "A third brother?" Grant yelled loudly, causing the hero to pull the phone back away due to the sheer volume. "Where the hell would you get an idea like that?" "Is that Tunnel?" A voice asked from behind, the tall blonde causing him to jump in surprise. Turning around, Toshinori saw Takahashi standing behind him with a deep frown in his face. Eyes wiping back towards the room, he saw Izuku sitting at the table, head bowed, and body shaking as he furiously wrote in a notebook. "Put him on speaker," the detective said, looking down at the phone seriously. "Tarno, you there? It's Tokuriki." "Of course I'm here," the jet hero growled over the phone. "Now, what's this marvelly about a third brother?" "Izuku Shigaraki," Takaishi said, opening up his notebook, noticing how flinched at the mere mention of the surname. "After explaining my quirk to him and receiving permission, I learned that he's currently 14, but not currently attending school for some reason. He has a small family considering of the two brothers, Hisashi and Tomura Shigaraki. The older brother Tomura is single and teaches at a privately owned school run by Hisashi, the eldest, and Inko Akane, his wife. They currently have a 3-year-old son, Muko. Oh, and one more thing. He was born over 200 years ago." Both men were silent for a moment before Grand asked the obvious question. Could he be crazy? Possibly. My quirk has a problem when someone with severe delusions truly believes what they're saying is true, but in this case, I highly doubt it. The detective said, looking into the room where the boy was flipping through pages and writing an astronomically speed. I've scheduled the meeting with a trusted psychiatrist and doctor just to be safe, and I'm having an officer make up a bed in one of our cells in the meantime. Good, Grant said. I'll be down to Gamara to check on the kid myself. Ah, if I may, Toshinori coughed, softly, lifting his hand while looking slightly uncomfortable. Do you really think a cell is the best place to put young Izuku? I mean, he could always stay with me instead. Are you insane? Grant Torino yelled loudly from the other end of the phone. This may be One for All's brother. I know, Toshinori said, wincing at his former teacher's volume. But he's also One for One's brother. Shouldn't we help him? Wake him up in the future and figuring out your whole family, your whole life is suddenly gone? Imagining how he must feel. How he feels? Grant shouted, a large clashing sound from over the phone as something fell, or most likely pushed over. What if he's exactly like his brother, huh? Did you ever think about that? He could do to you if he had the same powers as All for One? Actually, Toshinori spoke, scratching his neck, thankful that the former teacher wasn't in the room right now. He kinda does. What? Both men said, together. The blonde looked extremely uneasy now. When we were talking, Izuku told me that he could take quirks and Roy them. Pardon? Grant spoke, his tone promising a swift and painful punishment should Toshinori lie. Forgive me, my hearing must be falling due to age. This brat can take in what? He can destroy quirks, Toshinori confessed, looking at Teshikuki. That's what happened to the man in the tunnel. After a few tense minutes of silence, Gran Torino said he would see Toshinori bright and early tomorrow and hung up without another word. Tsukichi, however, gave his friend an anxious look. You know this is a really stupid idea. Probably one of my top 10, no doubt. Tsukichi stared at his friend a moment longer before sighing deeply. I'll start the paperwork. All Might thanked his friend and turned back towards the one-way mirror. Oh, and one more thing, Tsukichi said, looking back, his hand just hovering above the doorknob, turning his head to look at the blonde. While I don't endorse him destroying the man's quirk, I should tell you that the thief we were chasing I heard from forensic scientists beforehand. His DNA had been linked to the deaths of several civilians already. They worry there might be more, so the profile is still being sent to neighboring cities for review against any cold cases. Yoshinori turned pale as he remembered what Izuku had said on the roof, unsure if he should be happy or not that the vile man's quirk was truly gone for good. Izuku stood numbly next to Toshinori as he opened up the apartment door with an uneasy smile. I know it's not much, but I hope you could be comfortable, Toshinori said, walking in, flickering the switch, and turning on the apartment's main light. Izuku gave a small nod as he took off his shoes. Thank you for having me. For the first time since offering to take Izuku in for the night, did Toshinori finally realize that maybe he made a mistake. Well, he had splurged for the two-room apartment. The guest room, if you could call it that, was filled to the brim with homemade thank-you gifts and albums containing letters from his fans that heroes just couldn't part with. The hero's own bedroom was eagerly barred aside from his bed, nightstand, lamp, and clock. The only personal touch in the entire apartment was two pictures, one of him and Nana at middle school graduation, and the other one of Toshinori and Gran Torino before he left for America. Sure, Izuku could sleep on the couch for the night, but it seemed cruel to the hero to make Izuku sleep on a lumpy old thing. Even if it was a pull-out mattress, was as comfortable as sleeping as a rock, and equally as bumpy. Groggle! Broken from his thoughts, Toshinori looked down at Izuku, who tried his best to ignore the sound, even though the kid's ears were turning red in embarrassment. I take it you're hungry. The blonde chuckled, making his way to the kitchen. I'm sure I have something you could. Opening the fridge, Toshinori saw the only food he had were a couple of special meals that were tailored for his diet due to his injury. Not really the sort of food that someone should be eating long term. But it was either this or takeout, and Toshinori had no idea what restaurants were in the area since he never ordered out. Are we related? Jumping and hitting his head against the bottom of the freezer door from the sudden question, Toshinori looked and saw Izuku standing on the other side of the fridge door, looking at him with his tired red-rimmed eyes. I'm sorry? The hero asked, looking confused. Why would you think that? Izuku looked at Toshinori. 'Cause you... never mind. Wait, no! Toshinori said, wondering if Izuku could somehow sense All for One inside him. If he could, then that would definitely serve to prove that he was related in some way to the quirk. I'm sorry. Is this because of your quirk? Quirk? Is that what they call powers nowadays? Izuku asked, lacing his fingers together and fidgeting. I guess you could say it's more because of one of the quirks I took from someone. But we had to take it. The man who was using it was... Hey, the blonde said, holding his hands out to calm the panicked child down. It's okay. I'm not judging you, okay? Just take a deep breath and tell me. Izuku took a deep breath to try to calm himself down. We call it pinpoint. That's what I mean, Rochi named it. Pulling out his notebook from the plastic bag that held it, Izuku opened up and flipped through the book before landing on the page he wanted and showing it to the hero. Izuku had created an impromptu family tree when he was talking to the detective, explaining who each person was. But after the man had left, he had drawn a line under Tomura's name and put All Might's name underneath. Pointing at the line, Izuku looked at Toshinori seriously. Pinpoint says that you're Rochi, but since you're not him, I thought you might be related? The blonde suddenly looked uncomfortable for some reason. How does pinpoint work exactly? Oh, Izuku said, looking shocked. Not many people asked him how his powers worked. I only need to ingest a drop of the person's blood, and then the quirk, can pinpoint their location. I really only ever used it for my family, and it can't work outside a certain range. And your own reading is weird. I don't mean weird in a bad way. I mean, well, it's weird. Toshinori raised an eyebrow. I feel weird, huh? No, I mean, yes? I mean... Izuku stopped and took a deep breath, moving one step forward and placing a hand on Toshinori's chest. Feeling the hero tense up from underneath him, he closed his eyes. I feel Tomura in here, but it feels like really deep down, like he's buried underneath something. Izuku didn't seem aware, but his quirk had unconsciously activated a rayed vein that appeared in his body. Feeling all or nothing enter the other's quirk, it was like Izuku started traveling along some invisible path, heading closer and closer to the center. It also felt like something was trying to reach back at him, but just before they could connect, or bursts of energy shot out and electrocuted him. Ow, the boy said, holding his hand as he took a step back, fingers stroking lightly, as he looked at Toshinori in alarm. What was that? That was... Toshi began, knowing the knowledge he should wait for Grand Torino was here to tell Izuku the truth, but something deep inside him was urging the number one hero to tell the boy the truth. My quirk. Your brother's quirk. Rachi? Izuku said, looking confused and shaking his hand in disbelief. That's impossible. Rachi doesn't have powers. Me and him looked with ours and we couldn't find anything. It's complicated, but basically your brother had a stockpile quirk that could pass from one person to another, Toshinori explained, not wanting to go too deeply into the story behind All for One and One for All. I inherited that power from my master, and the eighth person to have it. Izuku looked at Toshinori, studying the man in front of him, before moving forward quickly and wrapping his arms around the other man's skinny waist. Hey, what are you? Izuku sniffled a little, holding tighter. Nephew. Well, yeah, I guess I am kind of like your uncle given our ages, Toshinori said, not used to having someone hug him in this form. Izuku shook his head, looking up with a watery smile. Nuh-uh, I'm your uncle. Blood spurted from Toshinori's mouth as he laughed, realizing that technically Izuku was right. Izuku's tight gripping started to loose as his body slowly drifted off to sleep, the rest of the day finally starting to catch up with him as he nuzzled Toshinori's skinny chest, yawning slightly. Racha gave me such a cute nephew. Face softening, Toshinori pat Izuku's head and changed into muscular form, carrying the boy over to the bed, making sure to cover him with a blanket before heading back to get something to eat. Although Izuku slept soundly for the most night, for some reason, his dreams were haunted by images of his brothers fighting, while he stood trapped on the other side of an invisible wall, unable to stop him. Izuku calling All Might his nephew is absolutely hilarious. I bursted out laughing. It was funny. I love that. I don't love All Might, though. Yeah, I don't like All Might. Personally, I could do without him, but I know some people really like him. I just don't. I don't know why. I, honest to God, do not know why I don't like him. But I just don't. Anyways. Yeah, so I like the premise of the fanfic so far. The whole Izuku being the third brother. It is very interesting, and I cannot wait for the next couple chapters to come out. Like, I'm excited to record. I'm excited. I love it. I love this series. As always, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds, have a wonderful day or night. Join our community Discord server, link is in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.